Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. I know I'm a little bit late with my upload and I hope that you all will find me this Sunday if it is a Sunday for you. I usually upload on a Friday, but I had quite a migraine at the beginning of the week, and then that was paired with my second shingles shot that I also received this past week, and the combination of the two completely knocked me off my feet. And when I have a migraine, I usually need a couple of days after that to get back into the swing of things. But when you're in a darkened room for the majority of 2 days straight, you're kind of aching to get back to your normal life. And I couldn't wait to come back into the studio and work a little bit. And I did do a couple of different paintings, but I just wasn't feeling it. My head was not ready to do anything major or anything that I would feel comfortable sharing with everybody. So those were good warming up exercises, and I'm just gonna call them that. So I prepped the paper by making the back side, which is really the front side because it's the more textured side, with water so that it curls in one direction, and then I flipped it over and am now using the back side of the paper, which is a lot smoother and a lot easier to doodle on. And while the paper is curling at the moment, I am continuing to put water on it, and I am trying to straighten it out just a little bit by adding extra water on the around the edges of the paper. Why am I doing that? Well, if I hadn't added the water on the back side, my paper would now be curling the opposite way, and this way, with the paper wet on the backside, it will now straighten out for me once I start adding more water to it and the paint itself. So maybe you don't know about this yet, but if you're like me and you like to take your paper off the block and work on the backside, or if you work with loose paper, then that might be a great hack for you. Most of you probably already know this, but I figured I'd mention it anyway. So I'm working with the Paul Rubens student grade watercolor here, and my goal was to get a nice combination of the pink into purple, and this set does not come with a nice purple, and so I decided to just hopefully mix the two right on top of the paper so that I not only will get lots of different shades of purple, but also get a little bit of that blue and that pink. And for those who are interested, I am working with the Meuxan watercolor paper. It is so lovely to work with, regardless of which side you end up using. It can take so much water, and that texture of the paper when it's wet is actually really pleasing to me. So I am adding quite a bit of water and am adding a little bit more gold now that I have some of the colors down, and then I'm gonna let it dry. And once the paper is a little bit drier, I will pop in some dots of more color, and I did actually mix the pink and the blue to get a nice purple shade now, because I didn't want blue dots or splatters nor pink, so I figured the purple was a nice addition to it. I am mopping some of the splatter up because I didn't really want it there. In the beginning, I was thinking it was going to be a horizontal piece, but as you will see shortly, I flipping the page, it took me a little while to figure out which direction I wanted to go, but then I decided on this vertical option here because it felt a little bit like an underwater seascape to me, and so I was hoping to come up with something to make it look like that in the end. I'm just gonna walk you through the process of my reasoning why I lay down these lines. Usually what happens is I look for the shadings and I follow those shadings, and of course that doesn't always work out the way I want, and so I have to adapt a little bit, and I have to incorporate different things. But the way I drew these initial line, it looked a little bit like I had different tiers, and in the beginning I was thinking maybe I would use the gold splatters as bubbles of some sort, but I ended up outlining them, and later I will sort of kind of turn them into flowers. Now, can you still call it an underwater seascape if there are flowers? I don't know, but that's what they ended up looking like to me. And so it's always a little bit of a mishmash when I do these paintings, because I really don't have much of an idea of what I want to do, and it all comes out intuitively, and sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. So these flower stems looked a little bit too flimsy for me, so I added a little bit more structure to them, and I also decided, instead of leaving them in the darker gray, that I would outline them again with the black, because they were a little bit more delicate. I wanted them to stand out a little bit more. Those other structures that I drew beforehand to the right, they took up quite a bit of space in this painting, and so the flowers kind of disappeared a little bit. And so by outlining them in black, I decided they would stand out a little bit more. I had drawn these flower types before in a different painting, and I really wanted to bring them back, and they kind of look like flowers, but I also thought they looked kind of like heads, and so later on you see me adding some eyelashes to the gold dots. Listen, I don't know what's going on in my brain half the time, and I have just come out of a delirious state, and maybe that was part of why this painting is looking a little more wacky than my normal paintings, so who knows. So I gave them a little bit more of a head shape, and then I added these eyelashes, and they look cute. They look cute. It gives them character. Then I was staring at the page for a little while, and I felt like this desolate space on the bottom here needed something. I started putting down lines, but I wasn't quite happy with how they came out, and so I continued these petal shapes and I turned it into a flower of some sort. I also wasn't sure whether I should avoid that dot or whether I should incorporate it, and so I was hesitating for a second there. Then I started Googling some images. I sometimes do that, and I don't always look for doodle images to give my brain a jump start. I just look at all different kinds of photos, and I came across these elongated mushrooms, and I was like, why not? So I added some mushrooms to my underwater seascape. Don't judge me. It's my painting, and I can do with it whatever I want. Whenever I am not 100% certain of a structure that I'm putting into my painting, I tend to either use a very fine liner pen, or in this case, I used the darker of the two gray colors that I have, and other times I jump right in and do what I'm doing here, and I end up not liking it so much, and that's okay. I don't have to like everything that I put in my paintings. This one, on the other hand, I enjoyed very much. I'm not quite sure what it reminds me of, but I really enjoyed how it turned out in the end. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's the wavy lines or the way I shaded them in later on. But yeah, that was one part of the painting that really was enjoyable. I wasn't quite sure how to incorporate those splatters, and I kind of wished I had done something different with it, but in the moment, sometimes I just go for it, and then I either love it or I don't like it as much. And so I was just trying to figure out, now I connected them with lines, what else can I do with them? It's okay for now. I will work on it a little bit later on, that you will see. But it's one of these things. I needed to fill the space, but I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, and so I just added lines. The same happened with this part here. I knew I needed to put something in it, but I wasn't quite sure what, and so you see me using the gray pen again, just because I wasn't sure, is this going to be a structure that is going to be more prominent or not? What am I going to do with it? And then I added these circles, and I was going to make them look different than they later on turned out. And again, do I wish that it had turned out different? Yes. It's one of those moments where I have to be gracious with myself and just let it flow. It was my birthday a couple weeks ago, and I got some colored pencils. And I kid you not, when I opened the box and that smell hit me, it took me straight back to kindergarten and elementary school when you opened up your very own box of colored pencils. That smell of the wood just took me straight back to those days, and I almost cried. It was very emotional. So anyway, I haven't opened the box since, so when I open it up again, I'm pretty sure it's gonna hit me again, and so we'll just have that experience again together. How about that? I only wanted 40, the set of 40. My husband splurged and he got me the big box. So I have 100 Garandash colored pencils in here. So many colors, and I can't wait to use them, and this is the first time I will be able to use them. For now, I feel like these colors deserve the colors in here. So let's open it up together. Yep, there it is. Oh, if you know, you know, right? It's not only beautiful, but that smell is delicious. Look at all these colors. Look at how beautiful this is. Yay! All right, let's get to it. So because there is quite a bit of blue down here, blue purple, I think I want to bring some more of that blue in this corner over here. So I'm just gonna pull out all of my blues and a little bit of the dark purple and black and really shade this part in and see how that's gonna look. Even though I was working on the backside of the paper, it still had quite a bit of tooth, and while it was okay on the bottom part of the painting, I felt like the top part, it started to look very busy, is what I'm trying to say. The more colors I added, the more it looked busy to me. So I did go in the end and added some of my watercolor pencils and a little bit of water to smooth out that texture a little bit more, because I just felt like it was a little distracting. Yeah, I'm not showing it at the very end, but the picture in the thumbnail, maybe you can see that it looks a little bit darker blue, and that's why. That's another reason here when I say sometimes I start with a finer pen or the lighter grays when I'm unsure of what something's supposed to look like, but then I go in and I either thicken the lines or I just go over them one more time. Once I added color to this little plant here, I decided that I couldn't really see the outline anymore, and so I had to outline it a little bit more with a black pen. I added a little bit more yellow behind those mushrooms and also around the dots here, and just to tie in that yellow that I did in the top left corner there. I just felt like it was very yellow all of a sudden, and it needed to be balanced out a little bit. I don't know if I was successful, but if I wasn't, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Because I'm just, doing these for fun. I mentioned that I wasn't sure about those lines, and so I just ended up putting dots over them because I felt like they were too flimsy. And then I just added extra dots everywhere, like I usually do. So overall, I was pleased with how it turned out. Yes, there are sections that I wish I had done differently, but hey, for coming out of a massive migraine, I think I did pretty well. So I just have to give myself a little bit of grace, and I have to remind myself that in the end, I am not here to try and achieve a masterpiece. I am just here to create something and then post it and show you that, we all have ups and downs. We all have things that we like and dislike, and it's okay. To finish the piece off, I decided to put some more bubbles in, and I was trying to use the pencil before, and it didn't really work out so well, so I decided to come in with the diluted white acrylic paint, and that worked out just fine. And I'm really happy with what they added to the finished piece. All right, I better stop here and upload this video so that you can enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for being patient with me. I will be back this Friday with a new installment of What is Bettina Up to Next. So I hope you'll be there for this. Happy rest of your weekend, and I will see you soon.